Malik.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm speaking on
Yeah,
mute. I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry. So basically, I'm just telling that yesterday we have created a couple of collections, and one is HR collection and one is sales team collection. The HR collection is based on dynamic. A direct query, which is adding a user directly to a particular device collection. As you can see here, the you can start adding people, and you can add as much as you can. So this is a direct membership where you are defining the membership of the collection, uh, and it is static. It will not dynamically update the collection. And then we create another sales device collection, where the device collection is based on a query based membership. The query based membership generally statically checks for whoever fits into that query and pulls that user into this particular collection. So that is statically updated, so based on the schedule that we have given here. So now there are a couple of other collections we need to look at. One is include collection and another one is exclude collection. So I'm just showing some kind of an example here. So I'm creating a device collection name test, and I'm limiting the collection to all users. And then I hit next, and I have another type of membership that I can create, that is include and exclude. So basically, before we create this collection, I want to give you a bit of background about this particular collection type. So for example, let's take, you have an office building here and an office building here. Okay, and this is building A, and this is building building B. Okay, so you have two office spaces. This is building A and building B. So for example, if you want to deploy some kind of software, okay, some kind of software to building A. Okay, so what for building A, what you will do is you create one kind of a collection for building A, and if you want to deploy software for building B, you will create another collection which is building B. Now, for example, this particular offices are building A and building B, but still this completely comes under to one organization. So there will be some cases where you want to patch building A and building B at the same time. So at that time, what you will do is you will create a collection which is office buildings, and then you will actually, what you will do, you will add both building A to this collection and building B to this collection. So now if you want to deploy a software, what you can do is you can directly deploy to office buildings device collection, so that it will deploy to building A and building B. So this is called as include collection. So office building is a collection in which you are including other collections as well, which is building A and building B. So now office building is a device collection which has members of building A and building B. Now you can directly target the deployment to office buildings device collection, so that device or user collection, whatever it is, it will deploy to building A and building B. So this is called as include collection. Now in building A, there is one small team which is, for example, there is one team which is, okay, one team which is, you can call them as VIPs. Okay, okay, there are set of users in building A who are VIPs. Okay, so you do not want to touch those machines because they are mission critical, and you don't want to patch or deploy those updates to that particular VIP users, but still you want to deploy to rest of the building A and rest of the building B. This is when you use something called as exclude collection. So now what you're doing, you're deploying the software to office buildings, but you're deploying to entire building A, but not to the VIP because you're excluding them, and you're deploying entirely to the building B. So include collections can include multiple other collections as well. Exclude collection will ensure that those people are excluded from the collection. So that is a background about the include and exclude collection. Are you clear or any questions?
No, Malik. Clear, Malik.
Oh, okay. Now we will try to create an include collection and an exclude collection to see how actually it behaves. So for example, I want to create now something called as building A. Okay, we will go with the same example. So building A, okay, we have users from HR collection. Okay, next. Now I want to you can for this example you can do a direct query and percentile next. So in HR we have these two guys. Okay, in HR collection we have these two guys, so I'm creating a collection for them. So I'm saying this as building A. Next, next, close. So building A is now created. Now I'm going to create another collection which is building B. Okay. Now I will limit the building B collection to sales team. Okay. Now yes, sales, and then I will say a direct rule again for this, just for informational purpose. So percentile, and we have three users here. So okay. So I will close, next, and next, close. So now we created two collections which are building A and building B. They are still updating their membership. So building A already updated, now waiting for building B. Now what we can do, if you want to deploy a software or a patch anything, you can directly deploy to building A, or if you want to deploy to building B, you can directly deploy to building B user collection. Now, if I want to deploy to both building A and building B ones, then what I can do is I create another collection which says office collections, office building. Yeah, office building next. Now I want to limit this to all users collection because all user collection is a part of all the users. So now I'm limiting to all users, not to sales or HR, because if I limit to HR, I will get only building A users. If I limit to sales, I will get only building B users. So if I want all use, I mean, if both building A and building users, I need to use all users collection because it consists of both A and B building users. Now I will say include collection. Okay, include collection. In the include collection, I will select building A and building B. Okay, and I select OK. I hit next, next, close. Okay, so now this office building collection consists of both building A and building B, which means the member count should be 5, right? The member count should be 5. So let the collection get refreshed. So the member count is now 5. So this is how you create an include collection. Now what happens, for example, if this is not a thing, suppose think this is not a direct membership rule, this is a query based membership rule. So query based membership rule dynamically updates, right? As soon as someone gets added to that particular attribute, it pulls out the information to the SCCM and it adds to the building a collection. So as soon as building a collection is updated, the office building collection is also updated. For example, if someone is removed from this collection, it will also remove from this collection. If someone is added into this collection, that guy will be added into the office building collection as well. So that's how it works. It dynamically updates both building A and office building device collections as well, as soon as the changes applies. So any questions so far? Clear?
Yes.
Okay, now this is how you create an include collection. So for example, now if now you are targeting to office building. Okay, now you are targeting to office building, but in building A, there is one VIP user or someone who you want to limit. So for example, if you are creating a new collection for all VIP users, okay, tell that this is VIP users, and you are limiting to building A, because in building A we have VIP users. So I'm selecting the limiting collection to building A. Right now I select, uh, here you can use query based membership or whatever it is, direct rule. For demonstration purpose I'm using uh, for direct rule. So think that Ramesh is an VIP. Okay, so what happens is like a vice president or something. So he frequently has meeting, and so our software what we are deploying is requiring a reboot. So we don't want to touch the VIP guys, because we don't know like at what time they will be in meetings and all those stuff. Now what you can do is you can still target the office building. Okay, you can still target the office building, but if you target the office building right now, whoever is the VIP user, the Ramesh, whoever is the VIP user, he will also get that particular update and his machine will be rebooted. So what you want to do is you want to exclude this VIP users from the membership. So I will go to membership and I will say add rule, and I would say exclude collection, and I will select corporate, and I will say VIP users. So I'm excluding all VIP users from the patching. So now what happens? Now you can still deploy the software to office building, right? But the VIP members will be excluded. So the membership count is now 5, but if the excluded theory worked, the membership count should be 4. So you got the point now why we use include collections and exclude collections.
Yes.
Clear, right?
Yes,
No
boss.
questions at all.
Very clear. Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. So that is how we
Yes.
use include and exclude collections. These are really, really powerful. It
Yes.
gives you the flexibility to actually target, a big bunch of people, but still have the flexibility to avoid some kind of users or devices
Yeah.
from getting
No
those patches
questions. No.
updated. Yeah. So we clear, right? So basically, that is how you create an include and exclude rule. So we covered what is a direct membership when we created the HR collection. So a direct membership is directly you're adding a people. So you select a direct rule. Now we have seen how we added a direct rule. So direct rule is static, which means it will not update it membership. You need to manually update the membership, so the dynamic changes will not be taken place. And for the sales team, we created something called as query based membership. In query based membership, we are running some kind of a query, and the query, if whoever is matching that particular query we are running, he will be added automatically to the sales collection, and the query runs based on the schedule that we have set. So there is no need of manual intervention here. Once you create the query, that's it. SCCM polls every every 5 minutes for the incremental, or every 7 days for the full collection to be updated, and it will automatically update the membership. And then we have seen how to create an include collection using building A and building B. I'm sorry, we have seen how to create an include collection in office buildings. We have included building A and building B, and we also created a VIP user who can be excluded from office building device collection. That way we also touched the exclude membership exclude membership device collection, user collection. So that's all typically about user collection. So this is how
One,
you, yeah, go ahead.
Malik, I have one doubt. Okay, if you are adding through direct rule,
Uh-huh.
see, if one user wants Office, so he wants immediately. If we are adding directly that Office collection, so do we miss any complaints, or if it after that, after some time, we'll delete from
See,
direct rule, will it
direct,
affect?
yeah, basically direct rules are very, very less. I mean, like very less people use the direct rule, and in very rare scenarios.
Yes, very rare
So
scenarios.
yeah, so we don't really use the direct membership anywhere. So but I didn't really understand your question first. So what you're exactly asking?
So if we are adding a normal query
Mhm.
based means it will follow some procedure,
Right,
follow
right,
steps, right? It will add to AD group, then it
right,
will
right, right,
reflect on user machine policies. It will
right,
like
right,
that, right? If we are adding to direct collection, direct, if we are going to that office building and we are adding the machine name directly. I mean, like
right,
Chetan machine. If I adding
right,
Chetan machine, it
right,
immediately it will reflect, right? If we are
right.
right click update membership means automatically it will install it within 10 or 15 minutes, right? So after, I mean, if we add direct rule, any drawbacks, any
See,
like
no, no, there are only very few scenarios where we use direct membership. First thing is like, if you want to specifically, licensed software, that can also be actually a query-based membership. But I'm just giving an example. For example, there is some department who uses one particular software. So, say HR team uses Primavera software or something, and your HR team doesn't really frequently change, and you thought that okay, writing a query is waste of time, so there are only 3 members, I will add. So what happens? See, whenever you are deploying a software, you will target to that particular user collection. Okay, that particular target will be only applicable for that software. So if you are, for example, what I'm saying is, if I am excluding VIP member here, right? So I've excluded VIP member in this particular scenario. So
yes.
the VIP user will not get this particular update. Similarly, if I want to update to the complete office, see, now if I want to what if I have some kind of a software, now I'm targeting to this particular office building. Only that VIP user is not getting the software, and rest of the complete building A and building B is getting. Now, for example, if you are creating another device collection with building A and building B, okay, for example, if what I mean to say is, for example, uh, let me just tell you something. So if I go to here and I uh, do like this, okay, office building VIP excluded. Okay, I'm just telling the device collection as VIP excluded. Okay, so which means if I target any software to this particular collection, okay, all the VIP members will be excluded, and building A, building B will be completely patched. Now what I can do is I create another collection. This is office building. Okay, and I will say office building all included. Okay, all included. Now I limit the collection to all users, and then I will say next, add rule, direct rule. Next, I will oh, sorry, cancel. It is not direct rule, add rule, include
Okay.
collection, and I will say
Query
building A
based.
and building B.
Okay.
Now I'm
Okay.
doing a now what happens is, see, this is office building VIP excluded. Whenever I want to deploy a software to one particular, like the complete office building, apart from VIP, I will target this particular device collection. So whenever I want to do a monthly patching update or something, so even though if it is VIP, it doesn't matter. I want his PC to be patched, and I want the PC to be complaints, because I don't want to run into trouble. So I will target the updates to this particular group, so the VIP will be also included. So it doesn't mean that if you are excluding here the VIP guy, if you are excluding here, it doesn't mean that he is not gonna get any software updates. It depends on where you are targeting. If you are targeting to this group, he will not get anything. But if you are targeting this group, even though if he is VIP, he will get all updates. That's the point. Got it?
Yes,
Or
sir.
any
Yeah.
still any questions? So if you
No,
are
no.
excluding one particular collection from one membership, it doesn't mean that it will be not getting any updates going forward. No. Okay, it is only applicable for that device collection, only sorry, user collection, only applicable for this collection. So if you are targeting 10 softwares to this particular collection, all 10 softwares will not be received by VIP. If you are targeting the same 10 collection, same 10 softwares here as well, then the VIP will also get it. Okay, so so it depends on where you are targeting. It is very simple. If you are, it depends on where you are targeting. So if you're
Okay,
targeting here, the
Malik.
VIP will, yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
other question is
yes,
when we are means we are testing some applications, we'll add the machine in a direct room. Okay.
okay, okay,
Hello. And
yes, yes,
after
go
that,
ahead.
after installing, after installing everything, the application is installed in user machine. After that, we'll remove that machine from the direct room.
Okay.
So it will come under compliance, or it won't show it in compliance.
See, for example, if you have some test machines, 7 test
Yeah.
machines, okay,
Uh,
because that test machines doesn't change frequently. The test machine doesn't change frequently. You do monthly testing on that particular PCs only. So you added directly those PC to one device collection. Okay, you added those PCs to one device collection and you patched it. Now you are saying that you removed those devices from the device collection, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, but still the PCs are patched, right? So it will be complaints itself. I mean, like
Okay,
complaints
that's okay.
in this, it will be in
Yeah.
complaints, but
Yeah.
I don't know, like
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Malik. Amshi, can you go to mute? Lot of noise is
Yeah. One
there.
second.
okay,
Yes, Malik, you can go ahead.
okay. Now, so before we go into, we covered all
Malik,
parts.
Malik,
Yes.
your voice is not clear. It's
It's actually breaking. It's in and out.
Okay. Can you see? Can you hear me now?
no, still it is breaking.
Let's see what happening here. Okay, okay. Something is wrong. Like connect to VPN. No. Network is detailed. See, I think to Wi-Fi for some reason, because my disconnected. Okay. What happened? Something is wrong.
Yeah. Now it's okay. Now
It's
it's
now it's
okay.
okay.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, fine. So I'll be going to our virtual machines in the Azure portal, and I will go to the client machine. Okay, so basically we have covered almost everything in the user collection part. So I think you guys should be pretty much good with the user collection, and there will be a lot of queries that you can directly get from the internet, and there are a lot of blog posts about how to deploy, I mean, like how to create a device collection based on some attributes or whatever your requirement is. But start using it, I mean, like start creating the collections manually, as we did earlier in the lab. Okay, so that what happens, you will get experience. Instead of copy pasting, just do some kind of manual creations as well, so that it will actually help you to build your own queries. And if in case at some time you have some issues, Google, I mean like finding some queries on the internet, you should be actually good to create your own queries as well. And you maintain a repository of your queries, so that will be helpful. If you are, I mean like if you're once creating, just copy that into some kind of OneNote or somewhere and store it, so that because if you're primarily want to be a want to be an administrator in SSCM, and you're sure that you're going to make a career going forward in SSCM very strongly, keeping a repository of all these things will help you, because you may need to run into, I mean like you may run into sometimes creating the same queries again and again. So instead of doing that work again and again, just ensure that you put it somewhere. Okay, so
Sure, man.
now we have this Windows 10 machine booting up. Now what I want to demonstrate is the what I want to demonstrate now is the client push. So basically this is a Windows machine, right? I'm hoping this is not uh, removed its DNS, because we haven't touched it for a long time. So I want to just ensure this is in network for sure, but where the DNS is pointing, is it pointing to my AD? Need to check. Yes, it is. So I want to just confirm few things before I uh, so I want to ping my Active Directory. Yes, it is pinging, fine. So now what I want to demonstrate is a client push. Okay, so a client push is like nothing but you are installing the configuration manager client on your Windows 10 machine, so that it can communicate back to our SSCM server. And from there we can do a lot of things. We can deploy software updates, we can deploy patches, we can collect the software inventory from the machine, we can collect hardware inventory, we can assign policies to the Windows machine, we can deploy antivirus, we can do a lot of things using the client that we are going to deploy right now. So basically there are some prerequisites that we need to met before we proceed, but let me just show you something before here. So there is no software center available here, so and there is no configuration manager is not available. So I'm just showing I haven't done anything so far on this Windows machine. Now we'll go back to our Active Directory server first. So basically for the client push to work, there is a flowchart that I have collected somewhere from the internet. So let me just show you the flowchart. So this is the flowchart. So let me just zoom. So this is how you do a client push. Client push is nothing but pushing the configuration manager client to your end user PCs. This can be done in multiple ways. This can be done using SCCM. It can be done using group policy. You can do it from imaging, like you want, you can include the client in the imaging, so that when you initially build an image with for the laptop, the configuration manager client itself comes with the build. And there are other ways as well to deploy the configuration manager. So what happens when you deploy a configuration manager? So administrator initiates a client push, which means we ask SCCM to install client on this particular machine, right, or on a particular device collection. So the configuration manager checks for sufficient information about the remote target. What is the sufficient information about the remote target? Whether it is in the domain or not, whether I'm able to ping, whether I'm able to reach that particular server, or I mean like client machine or not. So it's gonna check for that. So once if that test passes, so if there is sufficient information for SCCM, then the SCCM will try to communicate with the Windows 10 machine. Okay, it will try to send some echo request, some kind of communication will happen between the SCCM and the Windows 10 machine. If there is no sufficient information, the client push immediately gets fails. Okay, if there is sufficient information and the SCCM and the client can communicate, and if it is a success, then configuration manager attempts to authenticate with the target system. Okay, authentication in the self. For example, if you want to push a client to the Windows 10 machine, what happens exactly in the background is the client will copy that particular setup file, the configuration manager setup file, to the target machine, to the Windows machine. In order to do that, if I want to access some kind of a share on a network, for example backslash some share, if I want to access, I need to have the access to that particular share. Similarly, if you are trying to I mean, like when SSCM is trying to copy to the machine, what it will do, it will try to copy the setup something like a client backslash client dot c dollar, then to a temp folder or some folder. It will try to copy the setup file. If it is able to copy the setup file, then the configuration manager server actually once it is copying the setup file and the setup file is copied, the installation will begin, and the target system gets installed, I mean, with the configuration manager client. So this is how typically a workflow works. So what happens, the configuration, so there are couple of things that you need to ensure. First thing, your target server is reachable from SSCM, right? And the second thing is your target server is able to communicate, which means the necessary ports are open, the firewalls are open and everything. So that particular thing you need to check. And the third thing is your configuration manager server able to authenticate. So these three things you need to ensure that they are in place. So the first thing we will do is we will check the uh, whether we have information. So obviously, if it is a domain joined machine, Active Directory provides SSCM enough information. So we SSCM server will obviously have the enough information about the client. What is the IP address of the client? What is the DNS, and everything will be there. And the second thing is we need to check from the window, I mean, from the SSCM server, we are able to talk to the client or not. So from client, I'm able to talk to Active Directory, but from SSCM server, let me try to ping the client. So I'm not able to ping the client from SSCM server. Okay, but let me just go back to the client and see if I can ping the SSCM server or not. CMT, and I will say ping SSCM. Okay, so the communication is working this way, but not from that way, because there is a I mean, like in this particular client machine, we have the firewall turned on. So I need to check the firewall settings here, and I am going to turn off the firewall for firewall on the Windows 10 machine. So basically, we are not going to do this in a production environment or on the corporate environment. We will allow necessary ports, or we will allow necessary communication between the SSCM configuration manager and all the clients. So that ports will be taken care by your security team on the Windows firewall, or any third party like Palo Alto or Cisco ASA firewall. So these kind of firewalls will be handled by your security team. So they will be actually I mean, like helping out to open the communication between all clients. For example, if SSCM communication happens on 1285 port, and we will ensure that the 1285 port is open on all laptops on your corporate network, so that SSCM can communicate it. But for now, I'm going to just turn off the Windows firewall on this machine, so that we can quickly ramp up, uh, rather than creating rules for Windows firewall. So now I go back to the SSCM server and see if I'm able to ping the client. Yes, now I'm able to ping the client. So we have satisfied two requirements. The first requirement is we have enough information for the SSCM client, that will be taken care by Active Directory and DNS. It will give the client machine IP address, it will give the host name and everything. So SSCM will have sufficient access there. The second thing is we allowed communication between SSCM and client machine. Now, what is the third thing that we have? The third thing what we have is to the configuration manager server need to authenticate to remote machines. So for example, if you are administrator, okay, in your organization, if you are a domain level administrator, you should be able to authenticate to any machine on the network, which means if, for example, if I have a PC called some PC Mark PC, okay, Mark is the user and it is the PC name, and if I want to access his C dollar, I should be able to access when I'm a domain level administrator. Now, as I told you earlier that it is not necessarily required that you give domain admin for everything, but rather you can do something called as delegation. You guys remember something called as delegation? Are you guys still able to hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yes. It's
Yeah,
like
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
giving permission to particular group.
Yeah,
It's called
giving
like
whatever
SC.
the
Yeah.
permission is that is required for our right for our requirement. So if I need someone to actually only have permission to join computer objects, create computer objects in active directory, so I will give only that permission. If I want someone user to reset passwords, so I will give only that particular permission to the user. So similarly, we need to create one account for SSCM to be able to authenticate to all the clients on the machine, so that it can actually copy the setup file and begin the installation for us. So generally, we use service accounts for those matters. So I will create one service account, which is let's say SVC means service account, and it is used for client push. Okay, so now client push is the name that we generally use when we are pushing the client SSCM client from the SSCM console. So I will give the SSCM client push a name, a user logon name. So that's fine. Now, basically for service accounts, we don't want to change the password. So I say password cannot be changed and password is never expired. So I will create a password for the service account. Okay. Now, as soon as you create, right? So this account is member of domain users. Okay, domain users is just a user, so he cannot authenticate to every PC because he is also just a normal user. In order for this particular account to get the privilege, either you need to delegate certain roles, okay, delegate certain roles that are necessary for the client push to be successful, or whether you need to give directly our domain admin privilege so that it has the required access whenever the client push begins. So for lab purpose, I'm giving domain admin, and for production or corporate, we directly don't give domain admin. We create a delegation with the necessary access that is required. So now I will go back to the SSCM client. Now I've created the account, so I need to actually add this account somewhere so that the SSCM will be able to authenticate to all the machines in the network. So sorry, I am not getting this administration. I'll go to client settings, site configuration, sites. Okay. Now this is the client installation settings where you will actually uh, uh, s- uh, push some, I mean, like create settings that will be pushed. Okay, you are defining some settings, and these settings will be automatically pushed to the client. So client push installation is what we need to select. So first we need to enable client push installation. So if we want it only on workstations, generally we don't install it on servers because we don't want servers to be patched automatically, or because there will be clusters, there will be databases which we need to manually take for maintenance before we patch or install anything. So generally we use only for workstation purpose. Workstations include laptops and desktops in your corporate environment. So we are enabling client push installation site wide. Okay, and we are only installing it for workstation. So these are two options here. Okay, so this is for site system servers like a distribution point, a management point, or any other point like SCCM. If you have a SCCM role installed on a server, whether if you want to install the SCCM client or not, this is absolutely not necessary for us. Now, whether it is asking specify whether to install configuration mine on domain controllers. So we have excluded servers, so there is no point always to select this always install on domain controller. So we never want to install the clients on the domain controllers until we manually specify it. So you need to manually specify to say that why, because we don't need I mean, like when we exclude servers, servers also include domain controllers, right? So domain controllers are not separate from servers, it is also a server. So now here you need to specify your client push settings. So first I will say SVC, I mean specify your client push account, client push. Let me just browse it instead so that we can ensure that everything is replicated properly. Client push, right? Good. Now I'm going to give a password. Okay, fine. Now we need to verify whether this account is working or not. What we can do, we can access some random network share. For example, I can access my client slash $C here and say test connection. Okay, it is successfully verified. Or whether you can do an backslash to active directory directly. Spelling mistake, directory slash $C test connection. Okay, the connection was verified successfully. So that means this particular account has the ability now to authenticate to any machine on the network, so that SCCM will have enough access to authenticate to every machine on the network to copy the setup file and start the installation. So now I am specifying the settings. The So what we have done here, we have enabled the client-wide installation and we have enabled it only for workstations. We said not to install on the domain controllers, and then we given him the account. Now we have something called a site code. Site code here is nothing but whatever we installed on the primary server. My site code is CHE. You can see on the top here, connected to CHG. During the installation, we specified a 3-digit site code. So that is the site code which will be used by your client to communicate. So your configuration manager client, as soon as it installs the client, it will verify where to reach and talk to which SCCM server. The client site code will tell that okay, you need to reach this particular CHE primary site. So go and talk to it. So that is why we can actually add more and more. For example, if you want to add redundancy, you can add another management point here, another distribution point site name. For example, if it is Hyderabad, you can give something like Hyderabad. So you can do that. So specifically we have only one site here, so I'm just using one particular site code. Okay, so clear about the settings or any questions?
So adding the site code on the installation properties followed by the comma, yeah? Comma.
Yes, you can use multiple. Well, you can give a fallback point name. Yes, you can give a distribution point name or something so that your client knows where to talk and where to reach. But for now, for us, for our purpose, site code is used primarily because let me just show you. If I go to site server and system role, this is
No,
the
his
one server
question
that,
is
yeah.
I mean, how do we separate with comma or space?
Yes, comma.
Comma. Okay.
So yeah, basically why we are telling is this particular site has distribution point role, management point role, site database role, site server role, system role. So management point role is responsible for communicating with the clients. For your SSCM, and if you are deploying a software on the Windows 10 machine, the communication first comes to the management point. So the management point role is installed on the site code of the server CHE. So you are giving the site server name as CHE so that it comes here. If the management point role is not installed on this, it is on a different server, you will give that server name there so that the communication happens between the client and the management point. So now we go back to the flow chart once again and see. So So we have sufficient information about the remote target. Yes, we have the specified DNS host name, IP address of the client. So that should be fine. So this will pass and it will go to this stage where configuration manager attempts to communicate. That's fine. We have turned off the Windows firewall, or you enabled some kind of rules in your production so that the SCCM client can communicate directly with the configuration manager. And then if it is success, then it will goes and try to authenticate to the machine and then copies the setup file to the configuration manager client machine, and the client machine gets the thing installed. So now let me just go back to the SSCM server, and if I go back to software, I'm sorry, assets and devices, and if I go to devices and see, this is my client machine. See, the client is no, these these are the things that I've created in the active directory. These are dummy, they don't really exist. The only one that exists is client, right? So what happens if I go and say, right, install client on this machine? It is gonna ask take me to a wizard. So I say, see, basically you can do it manually like this, right click and install, or you can put all these devices in one device collection and then install the client to that particular device collection as well. So that, but we just have one client right now, so that I'm installing it manually. I'm not creating a collection for that, but I will create a collection once this is done. So excuse me. So this option is not required for us. As we discussed, we are not installing it on domain controller, and this option is for existing installations. If there is an installation you want to repair and reinstall or upgrade, so this is what we are doing. We are doing a fresh installation here. So install the client software from the site server. So this is the site server. So and then Chennai primary, we have only one, so I select next and then next, and that's it. So the client push now triggers. So if you have everything in place, the CCM setup should start triggering on this particular machine, right? So let's just wait and go to the task manager, and let's go to more details and see if there is something called a ccm.setup is already running here. Okay, so now the client push is, I mean, like, is successful because the setup is actually running. If the client, I mean, like, if at any of the stages, if SSCM is not able to communicate or authenticate or able to copy the setup file to the client server client machine, the setup installation would have been obviously failed. If the process is running here, which means that the client push is actually succeeded. So let's wait for some time for the installation to be completed. And if you want to check the logs here for the client push, see Windows. See, 1 second. I keep forgetting these paths here. See Windows.
See Windows CCM.
CCM setup, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, CCM
Log.
setup.
And
Log.
this is the log.
First one. Yeah.
CCM setup log. So you can see what is actually happening here. So it's a /q, which is quite installation, which is happening in the background. Your user is not prompted
Can you
for
open
any
with CM trace? It will
trace.
be
Yeah,
very.
sure. I will do one thing. I will trace. I'm searching on. I don't know whether see Windows.
You can copy from server, no? You can access.
Yeah, I think this by default comes with Windows 10. So I'm just checking cmtrade.exe. It's not there.
No, it is not there. Even you
Okay,
should
fine.
copy as
I
well.
can see. So this one, yeah, I will open file location. I can copy. Then I'll go back to client machine. we build normally CM trace into the Windows image, so maybe that's where I actually confused. So
Okay.
CCM setup logs open with, come on, open with more apps. Look for app on this PC desktop and I select CM trace. Okay. Yes, I wanted to make it default. Okay, so this is what happened during the client push installation. See, you can clearly see what is happening. So the XML file is deleted because the installation is done. So there will be a theory behind the SCCM installation, I mean the setup installation. So what happens if the SCCM setup fails? How many times it will retry, and how, and after the initial amount of retries, where the particular XML file be moved again, so that it will trigger the installation after some more time. So I will show the tasks, but basically if I start looking at the CCM log, so basically what happened here is, so parameter, these are the parameters that was sent. This is our site code package name. So WMI event happened. So basically whenever you do a client push installation, it triggers an XML file with a set of instructions. So how the installation should go, and how the I mean, what are the parameters, what are the site codes that you need to set, and all those stuff. So you can see here that setup is completed successfully. The installation is successful. So here it is starting the service for the CCM configuration manager, and registering the MSI with the database WMI engine. So all this can be viewed in the CCM log here. So let's go back and see if we have the client installed. So I can go to start. Oh, something wrong. Start and then configuration manager.
If it is ended with retry in next 10 minutes, what we can do? What is the troubleshoot we need to do?
See, basically there are two folders where SCCM actually places this XML file. So you need the manually, I mean, like if the installation is failed for the first time, okay, based on the parameters we set, that the installation, the delayed installation will trigger automatically. So after the number of retries is exceeded, like 3 times exceeded, and then the particular file will be moved to a different folder, and that folder again triggers an installation for a random number of times. So I will show you where the settings are. So just give me a minute. So let me
Okay.
just show you these things first so that I will cover that.
Okay.
So this is the site code. So this is the configuration manager. So we have installed it on this machine. Certificate self-sign, which means we are not using any HTTPS. This is a self-sign certificate, and this is our management point. So whenever your client wants to communicate, it will communicate with the management point name sscm.lab.com. So all the communication will go from the client to sscmlab.com and the sscmlab.com to client, because that is your management point. So management point is where primarily your all clients will communicate with. So now we have actually installed this, and so there are a couple of things we need to talk about here. So these are called as client actions. So client actions are actually used to trigger some kind of policies. For example, if your administrator has assigned some kind of policy stating that you cannot declare your own user device, or you cannot change some kind of wallpaper, or for example, if in software center you can set your organization name on the top here. So if any policy that is related to config manager, so here it is defaulted to IT organization. but still we can change that. And if any such policies are implemented by your administrator, and that policy cycle will run in a specified period of time. For example, it says 15 minutes only, the policy applies every 15 minutes. But in the meantime, while we are troubleshooting, if you want to trigger those policies and see if it is actually pushing it to the client or not, you can manually run these cycles. So each and every cycle has their own own settings. This is for application deployment evaluation, but this means that if your administrator has recently I mean assigned some kind of application for deployment onto your machine, right? Then if you're not, if you want to immediately see that if it is working, for example, if say it is your test machine, before deploying it to the clients, you want to test it, and as soon as you package the application, you want to see whether it is running or not. Instead of waiting for 15 minutes of default time frame that administrator has set, you can run the client actions from the client machine to see if there are any policy updates on your application updates for your machine. So each and every machine, I mean like each and every client action has its own settings in the background. So we will discuss these all things in the while discussing the client settings client settings part. So I just want to go back to SSCM client. Okay, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I'll drink some water and come. Okay, feel thirsty.
Sure, Malik. Vamshi, if it is possible, can you download today's video and upload it? Vamshi? Vamshi?
She is sleeping.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sorry guys, I'm back.
Okay, Vamshi.
I'm sorry, anything
I
missed?
download. Yeah, I download.
I'm sorry.
Nothing, Malik. I told him to download today's video and paste it in my laptop. That's it.
Okay, 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 okay. Okay, no problem. That's fine.
No.
So any other questions so far on this?
No, Malik.
No,
It is
Malik.
clear.
So basically we did that client push, and let's go back to the SSCM and see if the
So,
client is no, yeah. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Someone has some question?
yes, Malik. There are few methods, right, for client installation, client push method, and some other methods. So you told only client push method, right? What are remaining methods?
Remaining methods are like you can deploy it through GPO. Okay, you can use that
Okay,
MSF file to deploy it from GPO. And the
okay,
other method is you can build it in the image itself whenever you're doing an operating system in deployment, right? In the task sequence, you can build the CCM setup directly for the installation. So what happens whenever your machine is imaged, okay, the client will be automatically installed. The client will be automatically
okay.
installed during the operating system image itself. Okay, so those are the three methods that primarily everyone follows in IT. So there are also
Okay.
other methods, I believe. Yeah. So, but do you
Yes.
would like to see like how do we push it through the group policy as well? Because we don't have another client machine to see like for the testing purposes. So, but I can
Okay,
give
no
you a
problem.
yeah, fine. Yeah.
Okay, Malik.
So yeah. So let's. Okay, sorry. So now the client is active here. You can see the site code is CHE. So you can see that site code there. And 1 second. SCCM client. So this is where your actually your SCCM client will be. So this can be, I mean, like whenever you trigger the installation, right? The SCCM file is copied from this particular folder, and basically this is also on a shared network folder. Like for example, I mean, this particular client is copied to your client machine Windows 10, and then the execution is installed. So the set, if whenever you, for example, if you are looking for setup file, where is the setup file for configuration manager? It is here it is, your SCCM server name, and then you hit enter, and you will have the shared folder over here, right? You will have the shared folder. In the shared folder itself, you will have the client folders, sms underscore ccm, and here sorry, client. So this is the where your client actually exists. So from this particular location backslash SSCM and your SMS underscore site code and then client, from here the SSCM will copy all these files to the target machine, and the execution will be done using the CCM setup, and the client push installation normally generates. um, Let me just check for one more thing here that we have question on. So I think someone had a question about client push failing or something.
Yes, yes, Malik.
Yes, tell
Like,
me what.
I mean, if we are upgrading client, so what happening is we are getting retry in 10 minutes. So if I tried after 10 minutes also, same error we are getting continuously. So what
So
is
from
the
where
process?
from where you're actually trying the installation? Are you doing a client
So
push or you're doing a manual
no,
installation or
man, PSEXE manual installation only through
so?
PSEXE.
Okay, through
So
PSCXC you are, yeah,
yeah.
understand. Okay.
So we are troubleshooting, I mean, client installation from different regions.
Uh-huh.
So for the compliance, so we are not able to migrate the client for a few machines. So I want to know how to resolve it. Still, we have a lot of machines like that.
Okay. So generally what happens is generally the retry happens every hour for like almost like 1 week. So if the SCCM installation fails, right? So I
Yeah,
mean
it
you're
is
trying to
failing actually.
reinstall, you're trying to
Yeah,
reinstall or install a new client itself on the machine.
no,
No
we
reinstall,
have
Malik.
reinstall only. Reinstall in the sense it have old SCCM. Okay, I want to migrate it to new SCCM,
New
new
SCCM
client.
client, new client.
Yes,
No,
yes.
in
Okay.
this
So
case,
it
you
is
need
not
to
upgrade.
delete that
It is not
old
upgraded.
certificates. Otherwise, the certificate will create some issues.
I didn't get that what you said. Certificate what?
Maybe no, it's the old client has some old certificates, right? Maybe that
Okay.
will give some conflict.
Did we try like completely uninstalling the client and then reinstall back,
Yeah,
or we
for
are just
few
trying
minutes
upgrade?